on the West Coast. The Raiders have won the toss and they will defer, which means that the Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning will get their hands on the ball first. John Fox, a one-time defensive coordinator for the Raiders in his 4th year as the Broncos head coach. And Tony Sparano in his 5th game as Oakland's interim head coach. He replaced Dennis Allen after the Raiders' 0-4 start. You know, we talked to Tony Sparano yesterday, and he gave every indication in the world that he would not defer, but that's exactly what he did.
Well, he talked about Denver getting started fast and getting the ball quickly and being number 1 in scoring, getting the ball quickly.
Ball will start at the 20-yard line. Let's check in downstairs with Evan Washburn. Evan.
Well, Greg, after the Broncos' 22-point loss to the Patriots last week, GM John Elway did something he rarely does. He addressed the team. His message, according to DeMarcus Ware, was, it's time to hit the reset button. You've been served humble pie. How will you respond? And as for Oakland, they're taking an us-against-the-world mentality into this game. Tony Sparano knows no one believes we can win this game, but we do. Greg?
All right, Evan, thank you. From the 20-yard line. And Manning will throw right off the bat, over the middle, wide open, across the 25, and close to a first down. Right at the first down marker is Julius Thomas. Peyton Manning, he of the 5 MVP awards, an NFL record 515 career touchdown passes. He didn't take last week's loss to the Patriots well at all.
And you can understand why he doesn't lose very many football games. Just his approach all week and the way that he dealt with his teammates is why he's the leader he is.
1 pass, 1 first down. Play fake. Manning throwing over the middle, tipped, intercepted. Picked off by DJ Hayden. Hayden. And the Raiders get a turnover right off the bat.
And sometimes as a quarterback, whether it's a veteran or it's a young guy, you can try doing too much. Manning tries throwing into triple coverage over the top of the linebacker and underneath the safety, and Sanders is just not able to get up to it. When you come in that focused and that determined, sometimes you can press a little bit. Even for a veteran like Peyton Manning that has all the records that he has, you can be so focused and determined that sometimes you're trying too much too quickly instead of letting the game just happen.
Denver with just 6 giveaways over the first 8 games. They give one away right here, right off the bat. Carr lost the handle, picked it up, and handed it off to Darren McFadden. Rookie Derek Carr, the Raider quarterback, his numbers from a 6-point loss at Seattle last week, working very hard to be a leader on this team.
Well, he continues to try and improve and get better. He talked to us for the first time this season. He put together a separate tape, and he sat down with his specialist to go through it, talk about things that he expects from them and things that he needs to do better as well.
Pickup of 3 on first down. It's now 2nd and 7. Short drop, quick pass to the outside. That is complete. And this is James Jones, and Jones with a first down close to the 35. The veteran on the offensive line is 10-year man Khalif Barnes, who moves from right tackle to left guard for injured Gabe Jackson. And tight end Michael Rivera has become a target favorite. 8 catches, 2 of them for touchdowns against the Seahawks last week. From the Broncos 36. McFadden for a couple. On that Denver front 4, DeMarcus Ware, 125 career sacks. 8 of them in this first season as a Bronco. The outstanding pass-rushing linebacker Von Miller with a team-leading 9 sacks on the year. And safety T.J. Ward, one of several brought in this season to strengthen and solidify that Denver defense. 2nd and 6. Carr, complete. Marcel Reese, the fullback, out of the backfield and out of bounds at about the 31-yard line, pushed out by T.J. Ward.
Well, and that's one way to slow down the pass rush is get the ball out of your hands quickly, and so far the Raiders have been effective with the running game, and here with Von Miller getting up the field, trying to jump and get a tip. McFadden doing a nice job of getting down around his knees to make sure that he can't jump up and knock that ball down.
3rd and 5. throwing and diving catch made at the 25-yard line. That'll be good for a first down. Bryce Butler, the second-year wide receiver from San Diego State.
You can see the poise that Carr has standing in the pocket, the accuracy as he gets that ball up the field. Getting the ball into Butler, even though there was good coverage by Brandon Marshall, putting it in a location where only the receiver can catch the ball.
So another first down for the Raiders. McFadden, the deep man in the backfield. And on the end around, this is Kenbrell Tompkins, and Tompkins brought down at about the 27-yard line by DeMarcus Ware.
Tackle by number 94, DeMarcus Ware.
DeMarcus Ware does a nice job of staying at home. He's here at the bottom of your screen, 94. He comes upfield, and he's able to just stay home, stay honest with the play, and not give up the big gain around the edge.
This Denver defense has allowed just 3 points to opponents on the opening drives of games this season. 2nd and 12 on the loss of 2. Carr. Catch is made at the 22-yard line by Brian Leonhardt, tight end.
Once again, Carr does a nice job putting the ball low and away from only where his receiver can catch the ball. Being a little conservative with the throw instead of keeping it up high where he can turn up the field and get it, but he's doing a nice job of protecting the football, not make it a risky throw.
So Carr and the Raiders now looking at a 3rd and 7. They need the 15-yard line for a first down.
Hold line. Nice 43.
Carr throwing. Complete, but not nearly enough for a first down. James Jones makes the catch, and Brandon Marshall makes the tackle, and that'll bring on Sebastian Janikowski in the field goal unit. Well, because of that heavy-duty Denver pass rush, you get the feeling there's a lot of dinking and dunking going on the Raiders offense right now.
Well, in this, they're trying to get the ball up the field. Here comes Von Miller, that spin move. Getting pressure on Carr right away. He has to get to the crossing route underneath instead of hanging on to push it down the field.
Janikowski from 41 yards out is perfect. And the turnover turns into 3 points for the Raiders. 3-0 Oakland. About 9.5 to play here in the first. DJ Hayden makes the interception. The scoring drive is 26 yards in 9 plays. Sebastian Janikowski with the 41-yard field goal, and the Raiders with a 3-0 lead on Denver. Andre Caldwell is deep for the Broncos, and he will run this one out of the end zone. To the 20. And forward progress will be marked at about the 25-yard line. So Peyton Manning with his second shot at the offense when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Microsoft Surface, the official tablet of the NFL. And by Bud Light, who reminds fans to stay in the game and drink responsibly.
Eastbound on the Bay Bridge on a beautiful day here in Northern California. From the 25-yard line, Manning will give it to Ryan Hillman. And Hillman reversing field and has running room on the outside and dragged down as he crosses the 30 to about the 31-yard line. Larry Asante with the tackle. Look at that Denver offensive line and an awful lot of shuffling going on. Will Montgomery is ending up at center today, and Demaryius Thomas having a great year, averaging 111.8 yards a game. That is the best average in the NFL. Manning. That's complete to the 40-yard line, and a first down to Emmanuel Sanders. Oakland's 4-3 defense has a rookie on the D-line and 4th-round draft pick Justin Ellis out of Louisiana Tech, one of the very best defensive football players in the league. The rookie linebacker Camille Mack, and in the secondary, veteran quarterback Carlos Rogers out. Second-year corner DJ Hayden has already made his mark today with an interception. This is C.J. Anderson. Anderson, first down yardage and more in Oakland territory to about the 41-yard line.
They caught the Raiders on a blitz, coming up the middle, getting pressure. See on crosstalk there with the middle linebackers, and C.J. Anderson getting to that second level with the linebackers on a blitz, and Denver able to pick it up. It just creates a big hole in the middle of the field.
Anderson still in the backfield with a new set of downs for Manning at the Oakland 41. And around. Sanders. Sanders brought down at the 36 by Charles Woodson. Well, as touchdown passes go in consecutive games, Drew Brees leading the way with 54 of them. Tom Brady right behind him with 52. Peyton Manning and John Unitas both at 47. 2nd and 5. Quick pass to this side to Welker. Dropped at the 38. Brandon Ross with a second straight terrific play.
When Brandon Moss lined up over the slot with DJ Hayden to the outside, two receivers, they tried running that quick throw to Wes Welker, and then just great reaction on their part.
3rd and 7. Manning looks to the far side of the field, wide open, has his man. And a penalty flag flies from deep in the secondary. Demarius Thomas with the catch. Let's check the flag. Our referee today, Carl Jeffers.
Holding, number 29 defense. That penalty's declined. Results of the play, 1st down.
So Ross with the holding penalty.
Demarius is going to go sit up here in the hole. The official that calls the play is way back here. Peyton just recognizes from a coverage standpoint with Woodson trying to get back into cover 2. Demarius is just left alone on that sideline, and Peyton's able to drop it right in that cover 2 hole along the boundary.
That flag felt like it came from the upper deck. 1st down at the 17. This is C.J. Anderson, and Anderson to about the 10.
Number 22, C.J. Anderson.
Miles Burris and Woodson combining for the tackle.
Well, talking with Peyton and talking with Julius Thomas both last night, a lot of their pre-alignment and motion stuff is just to get recognition of what coverage the Raiders are in and how they're going to match it up, and then Peyton can determine where he wants to go with that matchup.
On 2nd and 2, this is C.J. Anderson. Anderson has the 1st down. It'll be 1st and goal inside the Oakland 5.
With Monte Ball being out of the game, or being out of this game, C.J. Anderson getting a lot of looks, not only from running the ball, but also on the receiving end of some throws.
Monte Ball suffering a groin injury back on the 5th of October. They're hoping to have him back next week. 1st and goal. Manning throwing, incomplete, and underthrew Ronnie Hillman out of the backfield. He had Khalil Mack right in front of him, and Mack stopped.
The Raiders are going to bring pressure from all of their linebackers coming from the middle of the field, so you're going to see nobody covers him out in the flat. Peyton just doesn't get enough on it.
2nd and goal. Jump on the right side of the line.
False start, number 66 offense. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Manny Ramirez, usually the center, playing right guard today because of the injuries.
So right here at right guard, that's where the movement comes.
So that backs the Broncos up to the 9, 2nd and goal. Far side of the field, grabbed by Julius Thomas, and he's out of bounds. Right at about the 9-yard line. So 3rd and goal with 9 yards to go, Trent.
when it looks like there's an injured Raider down on the field as they call timeout. But I think you have to obviously push it into the end zone. In this area of the field, the NFL leader in touchdown receptions, Julius Thomas, has to be your main target.
C.J. Wilson is the injured Raider, the fifth-year defensive end. We'll take a break. 5:03 to play in the first. 3rd and goal for the Denver Broncos from the 9-yard line. And Manning spreads the field.
You got Demaryius Thomas one-on-one right here with DJ Hayden.
Manning, quick pass on the slant. And Thomas is not going to get there.
Raiders did a good job of disguising it to get Peyton out of that play. Charles Woodson was up near the box. That's what caused that underneath route. And he drops out into coverage. They fall back into zone. So as they get that completion, good rally by the defense of the Raiders. Make sure Demaryius Thomas doesn't get into the end zone.
Brandon McManus, 6 out of 9 on field goals. This one from 20 yards for the tie. And it's good. 4:06 to play in the first quarter. And the Broncos come back for the 3-3 tie here in Oakland.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon XLTE on America's largest, most reliable 4G LTE network. And by the new comedy Horrible Bosses 2, in theaters November 26th.
.406 to play in the first quarter. Raider defense stands tall in the red zone, holding Denver to a field goal. We are tied at 3. 73-yard drive, ending with the 20-yard McManus field goal. Latavius Murray is deep for the kick for the Raiders. And he will not get a chance to return this one. So we'll come out to the 20-yard line. Let's go back to a pass that fell short by Peyton Manning.
Is on first down, the Raiders only have 10 on the field. And C.J. Anderson, you're going to see, he's right here. He's coming out of the backfield into the flat. Actually, it's Tillman coming out into the flat. They blitzed their 4 linebackers that are in the game, and no one is left out there. Peyton, instead of floating the ball out to him, right here, there's no one on him. He's got the pass rush. Instead of just floating it out there and making an easy catch, he gets fooled a little bit because he thinks that Khalil Mack is going to continue with the rush, and he just lays it up too short. Missed opportunity on the touchdown.
Derek Carr throwing, complete, across the 25 to the 26 is McFadden out of the backfield, a pickup of 6, and it'll be 2nd and 4. The CBS Sports app now has the fastest scores. Download it today and be the first to get your football updates and scores right on your phone.
2nd and 3.
And by the way, knowing Peyton, he'll beat himself up over that one too, won't he?
He will. Missed opportunity.
On 2nd and 4, this is McFadden. McFadden for a couple, and Von Miller makes the stop. Yeah, that big huddle over on the sideline is right around Peyton Manning. That's the bulk of his offense.
I don't think there's any stress on their part. I think it's more just Peyton getting the communication part of it down, getting everybody on the same page. 3-3 ball game in the first quarter. There's no need to go major panic mode, but he just wants everybody dialed in and focused a little better.
Derek Carr now on 3rd and 2. Pulls it down. On the move, throws, and sideline pass is incomplete. Pass is intended for Vincent Brown. Let's go back to what you mentioned earlier at the very top of our broadcast. Derek Carr is dedicated to making not only his teammates around him better, but himself as well.
Well, and that was one of the things he did this week, is put together that videotape where he wanted about 15 to 20 plays, showing some things from a communication standpoint that he wants to be on the same page with his skill players. So he brought in wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, and just talked about how they can improve, what his expectations are. And that just shows you the leadership as a rookie quarterback, how that's developing.
Isaiah Burse, who caught a ton of touchdown passes from David Carr at Fresno State over the last 4 years, returns this kick, Derek Carr, back to about the 35-yard line. 2:26 to play in the first.
The NFL on CBS.
This month is Military Appreciation Month, and there was a parachute demonstration featuring former and active duty U.S. Navy SEALs. And the Raiders welcomed military vets from every U.S. war going back to World War II, and Broncos guard Ben Garland, a graduate of the Air Force Academy, currently serves as Public Affairs Officer in the 140th Wing of the Colorado Air National Guard. That pass over the middle by Manning to Wes Welker at about the 40-yard line. A pickup of about 5. It'll be 2nd and 5.
Welker does a nice job of finding zones and sitting in those windows and being that check down for Peyton Manning as he's trying to push the ball up the field. He knows he can look towards Welker to find that underneath throw.
Manning's pass to midfield is complete, and into Oakland territory is Demaryius Thomas. Well, last year, Tony Sperano could not, unfortunately, he couldn't shake the fact that Peyton Manning had a heck of a season against the Oakland Raiders last year.
8 incompletions and 7 touchdowns. That's unheard of.
On first down, quick pass to the outside to Thomas, Demaryius Thomas, and that's complete to about the 41.
We touched earlier about Derek Carr getting the ball out of his hands quickly so that pressure doesn't get to him. Same thing's happening with Peyton Manning. For the most part, the ball is getting out of his hands quickly, not allowing pass rush from the Raiders to affect him.
On 2nd and 2, that pass outside incomplete. A diving Andre Caldwell couldn't reach it. It'll be 3rd and 2.
Well, that's going to be something to keep an eye on there. I'm sure Peyton Manning saw the way that Terrell Brown, number 23, jumped that route. He was very aggressive in the coverage. I know it was only 2nd and 2, but when you're playing the sticks like that as a defensive back, Peyton Manning's going to keep that in his mind about maybe getting a double move a little bit later as this game unfolds.
Manning, and that catch is made by Julius Thomas, and he was well covered by Charles Woodson.
We talked to Peyton last night about how are they going to match up with Julius Thomas. They'll do the left side of your screen, number 80. Charles Woodson is sitting down there in coverage. He's matched up one-on-one. There's different ways you use Woodson. Even though he's in his 17th year as a defensive back, he can play in the slot. He can play one-on-one with your best receiver. Cover tight ends, he's all over.
Manning down the sideline, deep. Penalty marker flies.
There's that shot up the field. It didn't take him long to go after Terrell Brown.
Terrell Brown covering Demaryius Thomas.
Pass interference, number 23 defense, automatic. First down.
Terrell Brown just a couple of plays ago was very aggressive. Here they are matched up on the top of your screen here. He was aggressive. You see him squatting or getting his feet squared right around the sticks, right around that first down marker, and that's what Peyton saw on 2nd down. That time he decided to take a shot up the sideline.
So first down from the 15-yard line. And movement up front again.
False start, number 74 offense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
This time it comes from the left side of the line, left guard Orlando Franklin. Paul Cornick, the usual right tackle, is out with a shoulder injury. It causes Vasquez and Manny Ramirez to move and Montgomery in at center.
Well, it's very unusual for Denver to have a problem because they do so much quick count, false count, extra count, hard counts. Peyton changes it up all the time, and they're very dialed in with it normally.
Manning throwing outside, diving forward, incomplete is Hillman.
C.O. Moore in the coverage, number 55 for the Raiders. The linebacker core is a good young core of linebackers. C.O. Moore in his 2nd year, Miles Burris, the middle linebacker in his 3rd year, and Khalil Mack, we've talked about several times, the rookie. some good young speed linebackers that play with a lot of force.
2nd and 15. Gonna give it to Hillman. To about the 16-yard line. And Manning is going to let the clock wind down here at the end of the first. So they will change ends of the field. Oakland Raiders holding their own for the first 15 minutes of this game. 3-3, end of one. This is the NFL on CBS. That gorgeous aerial view, as all of our aerial coverage of today's game, provided by MetLife. Things favoring the Broncos. That one turnover turned into 3 on the board for the Raiders. 3rd and 10 as we start the second quarter. Quick pass on the slant, complete to Demaryius Thomas. Thomas brought down at about the 10, and Charles Woodson from the same draft class as Peyton Manning.
Well, and the Raiders showed the same coverage as they did on the last 3rd down inside the red zone, where they dropped guys into a cover 2 show with guys underneath. Broncos went back to the same play, getting Demaryius Thomas on a slant to the outside, trying to get him to break some tackles and get the first down. And once again, the Raiders defense held firm and held him to a field goal attempt.
Brandon McManus from 28. It's good. 2 red zone trips for the Broncos, 2 field goals, 6-3, Denver. Hey, get this, Thursday on CBS, Phil Simms guest stars on a new Elementary. Don't miss his sure-to-be Emmy-nominated performance Thursday at 10/9 Central, only CBS. The man will be intolerable, suffocating, I'm sure of it. To the 20-yard line, let's go green with Trent.
Well, coming into this game, the Raiders offensively have only allowed 9 sacks, tied for first in the league in sacks allowed, but they're going up against Von Miller with a spin move here against San Francisco, getting the sack on Kaepernick in 2.27 seconds. On the other side, you have DeMarcus Ware coming over from Dallas with the fake spin, gets Staley looking nowhere. He's just looking into space, and just the pressure that these 2 outside rushers bring, it'll be tough on Derek Carr all day.
That's just not fair, that fake spin. On first down from the 20, the pitch from McFadden, looking for a block, not getting one, and there is DeMarcus Ware. That'll be a loss of about 3 to 4 on the play.
We just got through talking about DeMarcus Ware and the presence he has in the pass rush here, playing off the block, being able to make the tackle in the backfield. Nowhere for McFadden to go.
DeMarcus last night, after all the success he enjoyed in Dallas, talking about this is kind of a rebirth for him in Denver.
Well, he just said it's fresh players, fresh attitude, and you sometimes get a little complacent when you're in the same routine he was talking about in Dallas, but now coming in here, a fresh start for him, trying to prove himself.
2nd and 13. Carr throwing, that's incomplete, as his intended receiver, McFadden, slipped and fell to the turf.
Well, going back to DeMarcus Ware, it's interesting to hear him use the terms, trying to prove himself after all that he's accomplished in this league. He's in his 9th season, and the number of sacks that he's had and the career that he had in Dallas, but he feels like he does have to prove himself. He's excited about this opportunity in Denver.
125 career sacks. Maurice Jones-Drew onto the field for the first time today. On 3rd and 13. Carr flips it out to the far side. That's Michael Rivera, the tight end. He's brought down just across the 20 at about the 23-yard line, and that'll force the punt. Meanwhile, San Francisco 49ers on the road at New Orleans in overtime by a field goal, 27-24.
Tough place to play, and New Orleans was able to get back in the game. They were behind most of that game and able to come back tied up, send it to overtime, but San Francisco held on for the win.
You and I will be down there 1 week from today. Isaiah Burse calling for the fair catch. And he made it. at the 32-yard line. Denver taking over with a 1 field goal lead.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Available now. Rated mature. Macy's. And by Coors Light, with this week's most refreshing fan, Douglas S.
Legendary De La Salle High School here in the Bay Area. Tales of T.J. Ward attending there and led to the movie When the Game Stands Tall. Manning throwing, tipped in the air. Justin Tuck got the football. What a play by Justin Tuck. And just like that, the Raiders are set up at the Denver 12.
Justin Tuck reading this all the way. He's lined up here. He's going to get upfield and then jump. Able to tip this ball and keep the concentration. Julius Thomas sneaking out into the right flat. Manning trying to get it to him, and Tuck just showing tremendous athleticism, getting the tip, but also able to cradle that ball and get the interception.
What a great play. What a great play.
Peyton attempting to get in on the tackle, slowing him down so the rest of his offensive teammates can stop him, stop Tuck before scoring the touchdown.
Peyton Manning, 2 interceptions at New England last week, 2 today so far. And it's early yet. So Carr and the Raiders at the Denver 12. Little shovel pass. McFadden to the 5. Brought down by Von Miller.
You spread everyone out. You get the defense thinking you're going to push the ball up the field, then you get a semi-roll or half roll to the right by Carr with McFadden coming underneath. Get those pass rushers up the field, flipping underneath on the shovel pass, able to pick up 6 yards on the completion.
Ball is marked at the 6-yard line. Raiders can get a first down without scoring a touchdown. Coming around is Denarius Moore, and he'll get 2 just inside the 5. And Von Miller again in on the defensive stop. 3rd and 2. 2 yards for a first down, 5 yards for a touchdown.
Well, we just had that graphic up there about the Raiders and red zone touchdown percentages, and second in the National Football League behind the Broncos. They actually may be ahead of the Broncos now, since the Broncos have had to settle for 2 field goals here in their possessions.
Carr throwing, end zone, caught, touchdown! Bryce Butler. Penalty marker is down.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Number 94 defense for a forearm to the neck of the quarterback. The result of the play is a touchdown.
Roughing the passer is the call, I believe, on DeMarcus Ware. That penalty will be declined, and the Raiders have the touchdown.
Well, and since it's a scoring play, it is going to be reviewed upstairs. There was a lot of discussions by the officials. 94 Ware on the left side of your screen. He's the one that's going to get called for the penalty. But as the discussion was going on about the penalty, the officials in the back of the end zone were discussing whether or not he had both feet down and had ball security. You can see that Janikowski's lining up for the extra point, so it must have been cleared up upstairs.
Janikowski's kick is good. The Oakland Raiders, with all 10 of their points off turnovers, 2 Manning interceptions, 10-6 Oakland. In Hollywood, being first counts. Friday on CBS. Don't miss the first ever broadcast of the Hollywood Film Awards live. All of your favorites will be there. Queen Latifah hosts Friday at 8/7 Central only. CBS. Andre Caldwell, Omar Bolden deep for the Denver Broncos. that will sail through the end zone. It'll come out to the 20-yard line. Trent.
Bryce Butler, who catches the touchdown, will be working in the back here, but it's the two defenders that Derek Carr is going to be watching right here. This defender coming up to get the coverage. As soon as Carr sees the two defenders squeeze that underneath route, he knows he's going with the ball to the back of the end zone. Here you can see Butler get both feet down. That's what the discussion after the play, and then Ware with that left arm up around Carr's neck.
And Justin Tuck with the football player's equivalent of hallelujah on the bench. First down. Broncos at their own 20. Hillman, left side. Out of bounds for a gain of about 2 or 3, pushed out by Terrell Brown. See what the Broncos have done with their possessions. This Oakland defense had 3 interceptions in the first 8 games of this season. They've picked off 2 of Peyton Manning's passes today. 2nd and 7. Manning throwing over the middle and almost intercepted there. C.O. Moore had a chance.
We talked at the beginning of the game about Peyton Manning and his focus coming into the meeting last night. We talked with John Fox and Julius Thomas about Peyton's approach during the week of practice and what he was trying to get accomplished. And sometimes you can press too much, and so far in this game, he's been trying to press too much, pushing the ball up the field.
3rd and 7. Crossing pattern is complete at the 30-yard line. Demaryius Thomas and has enough for the first down. For quarterbacks, Trent, that crossing pattern must be like a security blanket.
Well, when you have a guy like Demaryius Thomas he's coming over from the outside, or actually Demaryius is inside here. You get those crossing routes, gets the ball out of your hands quickly, and with a guy that big, you see he was actually, contact was made short of the first down, but he was able to reach and get across the 30.
Manning throws to the near sideline. That's Julius Thomas, the tight end. Let's go down to Evan.
Well, guys, just a quick update. Something to keep an eye on. Ronnie Hillman at the end of the first quarter came to the sideline with some discomfort in his left foot. Now they put some heavy tape over the cleat. He's been back in this game, but I've been watching him closely. He's been walking gingerly. He's been sprinting on the sideline during off series. Just something to keep an eye on. Ronnie Hillman with the left foot.
All right, Evan, thank you. That leaves C.J. Anderson as the primary ball carrier. Monte Ball inactive today. And that's Anderson straight ahead to about the 38. Third and 1. Make it 3rd and 2 at the 38-yard line.
As we're watching Peyton Manning trying to change up the tempo and get the ball snapped quickly.
Pass to the near side. That's Wes Welker, and it's complete for a first down. Out of bounds at the 46.
That's number 83, Wes Welker.
Manning's continuing to try and push the tempo, not let the Raiders change personnel, get him moving in and out.
You get the feeling you're going to intercept Peyton Manning, you're only going to make it angry.
That clearly comes across.
Manning batted down over the middle. See if that was number 90, Pat Sims, who got a big paw up there to knock it down.
Sims is right here. You're going to see what they tell defenders a lot of times is if you're not able to get push initially, you're getting double teamed. Sims is getting double teamed. Stop and watch the quarterback and elevate and try and knock down those crossing routes, and that's exactly what Sims did.
Elevate?
You think he did? You think he got off the ground? He may have got a credit card underneath there, but he got some elevation.
That pass over the middle is complete, and this is C.J. Anderson shaking a tackler and gets a first down. Out of bounds at about the Oakland 43. And now we have DJ Hayden.
You watch 22, Anderson coming out of the backfield, and the Raiders have dropped everybody in coverage. That's been their battle so far in this game, is drop people in coverage, rally, and force Peyton to throw into tight windows. That's how they've gotten the interceptions. You're not getting the same type of quarterback pressure you would normally get when you're rushing more guys, but by dropping the defenders, it's worked to their favor right now.
We have 2 injured Raiders on that play. DJ Hayden, 25, Brandon Ross, 29. Carlos Rogers inactive today. TJ Carey inactive today. So now number 31, Nico Thorpe, is onto the field, and so is number 39, Keith McGill.
And this isn't the team. They came in, as you said, Greg, they came in thin in the secondary. Now all of a sudden you lose 2 on one play. Looks like they're going to go to a cover 2, just go into coverage and try and help those guys out a little bit.
Ronnie Hillman back on the field. Manning fakes one way, throws to Hillman, and Hillman spun down close to the 40-yard line by C.O. Moore.
Ronnie Hillman on the reception.
Boy, you looked at some of the numbers. You go back to this play.
2nd and 9.
DJ Hayden with the late push out of bounds. On 2nd and 9. Man running out of time, and that one batted down as he was taken down. Justin Ellis, the rookie defensive tackle, might have gotten a hand on that.
Justin Ellis with the pass tip.
Talk about the pressure, being able to get pressure on Peyton Manning. This time they are able to get pressure, but if you're going to be double teamed, you need to get your hands up, and I'm not going to use the word elevate again, but he definitely got his arm up, able to knock down those crossing routes as Peyton ends up on his back.
3rd and 9. Manning stepping up, open, sideline pass, incomplete. Intended for Emmanuel Sanders and well contested by DJ Hayden.
Hayden back out on the field after missing a snap, getting dinged up a little bit, but sitting all over that comeback route. He gets that left arm extended in between Sanders' 2 hands and is able to get a piece of the ball.
Britton Colquitt can try and pin the Raiders deep in their own territory. Hangs it up high. Fair catch called for and made at about the 10-yard line. 8:06 to play in the first half. The Raiders 10-6.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by USAA. USAA proudly salutes all those who have served. And by McDonald's, official sponsor of the NFL. I'm loving it.
Okay, we remind you, coming up, the Verizon Halftime Report. JB and company, all the latest scores and highlights, and a preview of Thursday Night Football on NFL Network coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. Maurice Jones-Drew in the backfield behind Derek Carr. And the flip out to James Jones, and Jones knocked out of bounds. Well, these Raiders have lost 14 consecutive games. Have not won since November 17th of last year at Houston, and you see the changes that have been made, and not the least of which have been in the coaching staff.
Well, and I like the gas is going down. That's a good one. I like that. That's a real positive.
Well, with those 6 Humvees that you drive at home. 2nd and 6. Carr with time, incomplete at the 20-yard line, intended for Jones. For the first time today, that looked like Carr threw into traffic.
He tried squeezing it in there, and he's done a good job of keeping the ball away from defenders, not pressing the ball, doing a good job of managing the game. You don't want to completely not be aggressive, but when you're down inside your own 20, you had success after 2 turnovers by Denver. Don't give them an opportunity to get things rolling.
Now on 3rd and 6, they need the 20-yard line for a first down. Carr throwing. That's caught. But that won't be nearly enough for a first down. Jones with the catch and the loose football. No, he's ruled
89, James Jones.
out of bounds. He's actually ruled down at the 16-yard line. That's where forward progress was marked. So the whistle blew before that ball came out.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily the route. There were two receivers within 5 yards of each other, both doing out routes on the far side of the field. Either somebody was short with the route or deep with the route, but you can't have two guys stacked that close together. Fortunately for the Raiders,
Marquette King kicks it out of there, and the fair catch is called for and made by Isaiah Burse. 6:45 to play in the first quarter. Here comes Peyton, down 10-6. EC on CBS brings you the best games from the best conference. Dak Prescott and the top-ranked Mississippi State Bulldogs with their toughest test yet. With a trip to Tuscaloosa to face the 5th-ranked Crimson Tide of Alabama. It all begins with college football today live at 3 Eastern here on CBS. You and I were talking about that absolutely giveaway by LSU last night.
they've got to be sick. They've got to be sick today, and you can see the reaction of the fans after that game last night with that same gut-wrenching feeling.
Manning, quick pass, near side of the field. Sanders is down at the 45-yard line. Terrell Brown with the stop. And that'll be just about a 2-yard gain. It'll be 2nd and 8.
Well, that seems to be what the Raiders want to do today, is play soft in their coverage and rally and be secure with their tackles. And so far today, they've done that.
Manning looking for room, threw it away. There's no receiver on this side of the field. And officials are going to get together and talk about it.
That should be an intentional grounding. There was no receiver.
That's exactly what it is.
Intentional grounding, number 18 offense. Loss of down, 3rd down.
We're going to show you real quick that there's no one in the area where Peyton throwing. Receiver is running to clear out here. You got Welker coming across the field, but there's not going to be anybody in this area of the field where Peyton Manning throws the football away. He's under pressure. He realizes that. Trying to get it in the direction of Welker, but nowhere near him. The officials had no choice but to throw that play.
So Manning now looking at a 3rd and 18. Little pump fake, sets up the screen, threw it behind C.J. Anderson. Only 8 incompletions against the Raiders in 2 games and 11 today alone.
Well, what the Raiders have been able to do is get them in 3rd and long. Even the 2 times that Denver had to settle for field goals, they were 3rd and long, and doing a good job of putting pressure on early downs with not many guys rushing and rallying and making tackles underneath.
Denarius Moore going to let this one bounce, and it takes a Broncos roll inside the 5 and into the end zone for the touchdown.
Poor decision by Denarius Moore to let that ball hit the ground, but good decision to go up and make a block, prevent him from downing it inside the 10.
So this is the kind of day it's been for Peyton Manning.
Well, if you're not able to get pressure on Peyton Manning, you need to sit back and be able to jump up and knock some of those underneath crossing routes. And they have been able to make some contact on Peyton, but for the most part, there hasn't been constant pressure. And so if you're able to drop coverage and keep the deep pass away, you know those underneath throws are going to be lower elevation. And so far, the Raiders have done a nice job tipping the passes and knocking them down.
No one is happy after a loss, and certainly Peyton wasn't happy with the loss at New England. But what you said, there aren't many quarterbacks who have those kinds of numbers and then take the whole blame on his shoulders. Maurice Jones-Drew with the carry.
Well, when you go back to last week's game, he had over 400 yards passing. He had 2 touchdowns. He did have the 2 interceptions, but he just took that game very hard. You can understand why. There's a lot that goes on between his rivalry with Tom Brady, his rivalry with the New England Patriots, but you've got to refocus, be dialed in, because the Raiders have a good game plan and good approach that they're taking here today.
On 2nd and 7, this is Maurice Jones-Drew. He pulls his way through to about the 29-yard line. 5:20 to play. As you look at the best marks in the AFC, Denver trying to climb up there with New England at 7-2. Cleveland, Kansas City, and Indy
And if you talk to all those teams and all those coaches, all those quarterbacks, it's real early to start talking playoffs, but it's not real early when you start talking about advantage for home field, advantage for bye weeks, those kinds of things.
Carr rolling, throws, and that's complete across the 30 to about the 32-yard line. Michael Rivera for only the 4th first down of this game for the Oakland Raiders.
So Rivera right here, he's going to come in motion as the ball snap. He's going to come back underneath and out into the flat. Got Marcel Reese, 45, is actually leading it to draw the coverage away from him, and Rivera is stacking him behind. That draws the defense out on Reese, and you're able to hit, or Carr's able to hit Rivera for the first down.
4:20 to play in the first half. Carr with time, going deep, far sideline. It is incomplete. Fans are looking for a flag. There is none. Intended for Vincent Brown, covered closely by Chris Harris.
Chris Harris is matched up. A little stutter move to the outside. A lot of contact up the field as Harris is turning his head around to try and locate the football. He gets that left arm into Vincent Brown's chest, and
which usually draws a flag.
Usually the way they've been calling it this year, I'm surprised that wasn't thrown, and the Raiders have a valid argument in discussing why that flag wasn't thrown.
Carr, quick slant, that's complete to the 40-yard line. Vincent Brown. You know, the Oakland Raiders have not led a game at halftime all season long. There's offensive coordinator Greg Olson. Well, those are tough numbers to have to deal with on a regular basis.
Well, we talked to Derek Carr about that with the changes. Dennis Allen as head coach. There really wasn't much of a change for Derek because Derek said they didn't change offensive coordinators. They didn't change philosophy.
Carr got rid of it, and it is intercepted midfield. Bradley Roby, the first-round draft pick out of Ohio State.
Number 29, Bradley Roby, with the interception.
Derek Carr under pressure. He initially pulls the ball back because of that contact, and once he reloads, too much faith in Rivera getting across, throwing that into double coverage. You have a trail technique underneath by Roby, who's able to undercut that throw with safety help over the top. Poor decision by Derek Carr that time, just trying to force it.
So Manning with the football, 3.5 remaining. Each team with all 3 of its timeouts remaining, and this is Ronnie Hillman to the 49-yard line.
Number 23, Ronnie Hillman.
Sitting here watching Peyton, and as he's trying to change the tempo of, again, he's done this a couple times during the game. Sometimes they get up to the line of scrimmage and he wants to go through this big play call and play change using up the play clock, and other times he's snapped it quickly.
Manning dancing, throws, and again batted down at the line. Khalil Mack, number 52.
The Raiders' philosophy today has been if you can't get pressure, on Peyton Manning quickly, get your hands up, because that's where the underneath, the crossing route, the sit-down routes, the ball's going to come out with a lower trajectory, and we just had a few clips of it a minute ago, and now we can add another one. You see that graphic, 5 batted balls today.
3rd and 8. Manning stepping up, throwing, fighting his way out of the backfield to C.J. Anderson, and Anderson up the sideline, cuts it back, 25, 20, he's gonna go. Touchdown Broncos.
Greg, we had just gotten through talking about how good of a job the Raiders have done with their tackling today, especially in 3rd and long. They've dropped coverage, been able to rally, come up and make the tackles. What the Raiders want to know is if he stepped out of bounds after breaking away from 3 tackles right on the Raiders sideline. You can tell from that replay that he didn't step out of bounds. I would imagine that the entire sideline would have been going crazy had he stepped out of bounds. So
C.J. Anderson's first touchdown of this season. Peyton Manning with his 25th touchdown pass of the year. Bradley Roby's interception led to the touchdown pass, 51 yards, and the Raiders trail by 3. A reminder, the Verizon halftime report coming your way. 2 minutes 44 seconds to be exact. JB and company will have scores, highlights, and a preview of Thursday Night Football on NFL Network coming up on the Verizon halftime report. Peyton Manning's 48th consecutive game with a touchdown pass. That breaks the third place tie with John Unitas. And Latavius Murray will not get a chance to return this. So the touchback will bring the ball out to the 20-yard line. And Thursday Night Football this week brings you a key AFC East showdown. Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time live on NFL Network. Both these teams on the short end of the score today. Buffalo losing a heartbreaker to Kansas City. Miami a heartbreaker at Detroit.
Well, both those teams are battling for playoff spots. It's awfully early to be discussing it, but they're in position to where they can try and get one of those wild card spots.
Carr, quick pass. That's complete to about the 24-yard line. James Jones.
And Greg, you didn't realize the power that you had, right? You knew the last time the Raiders had the ball that you talked about them going up and having a lead at halftime. So they've got to go down here and get some points up on the board.
Yeah, that's my gift.
you didn't know you had that power from up here in the booth, did you?
Second and 6. This is McFadden. And McFadden straight ahead to about the 25, and that'll bring us to the 2-minute warning. Brandon Marshall with the tackle. 2 minutes to play here in the first half. Denver 13-10. This is the NFL on CBS. Beautiful look at Lake Merritt, downtown Oakland, California. 3rd and 5. Big play for Carr and the Raiders. They want to extend the drive, keep the ball away from Peyton Manning, look for at least a long-range field goal attempt from Janikowski. Carr throwing deep down the sideline. It is incomplete off the fingertips of the intended receiver, Bryce Butler. Aqib Talib covering. So Peyton Manning will get the ball back and all 3 of his timeouts remaining and some time on the clock.
Bryce Butler was actually on the inside of the 3 receivers, and he's running a wheel route with the 2 outside receivers doing sit down, just trying to catch them once they recognize man coverage.
Isaiah burst deep for the kick up coming from Marquette King. High snap, but he corrals it and hangs it up. Burst from his own 31. Up the sideline. Getting some blocks, cuts it back, penalty marker flies, and he is down at about the 40-yard line of the Oakland Raiders. Jamar Chaney making the stop. Here's Carl Cheffers on the flag.
During the return, illegal block in the back, number 30. 10-yard penalty, first down.
David Bruton Jr.
He's coming in here, and he's actually going to get the block in the back here. Who I think he's going after is right there.
Well, he missed him.
He either missed him or because of the slow up, or he just, with his angle, just wasn't in good position and ultimately ended up getting costing him huge yardage.
What are you, his agent? There's no excuse for that. First down for Manning. This is Anderson. Anderson breaking free, leaping over a tackler and down at the 45-yard line. Jumped over Larry Asante. C.J. Anderson, the second-year running back from California, putting on a good show today.
They've utilized him in both the run and the pass. We talked about the number of injuries and he's banged up at running back.
Anderson again, right up the middle, inside the 35 to the 33. And Asante making the tackle. And we come up to 1 minute remaining.
Yards on the carry, first and 10 of the Raiders 33.
Juwan Thompson, rookie out of Duke, coming in at running back. Anderson, after that play, waved himself off the field. Denver is sitting there with 3 timeouts, though. If you're wondering why they don't have that sense of urgency, with 45 seconds left in the half.
And they give it to Thompson, and Thompson wrestled to the ground by Miles Burris, the middle linebacker. And we get a timeout, stops the clock, with 35 seconds to play in the first half. With NFL Now, remember the heart-pounding wins or the gut-wrenching losses of your favorite team. For a limited time, watch a free trial of NFL Films Team Yearbook on your connected TV device or go to NFL.com/now to learn more. Brandon McManus's target line, the 26-yard line. I'm trying to remember the last time I did see Peyton Manning with a sense of urgency. He was so cool and calm.
Well, he had more sense of urgency on the previous 2 series where he was trying to get some tempo going, trying to get the defense on their heels, and this time with all the timeouts, it's almost like he's trying to prevent the Raiders from getting the ball back. I anticipate now that they've ran the ball 3 times that he's going to start putting the ball up in the air to try and get in the end zone.
Like now, deep, far side of the field. Caught! Touchdown, Emmanuel Sanders. Manning put that pass right on the button.
On the first half so far, the Raiders have done an excellent job with their coverage, not letting Denver get behind, keeping everything in front, coming up and making good tackles. Now this is 2 touchdowns in a row. The first time they rallied up and missed 4 tackles, allowing them to get a short pass into a long touchdown. This time just coverage-wise, they're in the right coverage, they just don't drop back, and Sanders is able to work up that right sideline for a touchdown.
And Manning with 2 touchdown passes now in a 15th straight game. And they are looking at that upstairs inside of 2 minutes to play. Let's take a look.
Looks like a touchdown to me. It doesn't. You don't see the ball moving at all. There's no, even when his body lands in the end zone, you don't see a loose ball moving around. On that angle there, the official runs right in front of the camera when he would be rolling over the top to see if there was anything loose. The first angle didn't show anything. From that angle, he has the right hand underneath it. And you can see when he rolls over, the right arm is securing it to his shoulder pads.
Bottom line is we really don't see anything that would change that call.
There has to be evidence to overturn it because the call on the field was touchdown. So,
and if it stands, that's 517 career touchdown passes for Peyton Manning. For Sanders, it would be his 5th touchdown catch of the season. And suddenly, just like that, the Broncos have gone from being down 3.
After review, the ruling on the field stands, touchdown.
To about to go up 10. .32 yards on the pass. The kick is good. And the Broncos put 14 points on the board in 2 minutes and 16 seconds.
Here you have a deep safety playing cover 2. You have man here, and he's going to soften up in his coverage. And Sanders is just going to work up the sideline. Peyton recognizing that they're not getting deep enough. They're sitting to come up and rally and make those tackles, taking advantage. You notice Asante doesn't, 42, Asante doesn't get any depth, even though he has that deep half of the field. That's exactly where Peyton Manning attacked up that sideline. As soon as he recognizes that there's not getting a drop out of that safety or getting an angle and a drop to that, he knew right away where he was going with the ball. He threw it with enough arc, and Sanders was able to run underneath it and locate it.
28 seconds to play in the first half, which has turned completely around in the last couple of minutes.
And it's really kind of the way that the Raiders' season has gone. They had managed things so well in the first half. Derek Carr got a little aggressive after getting pressure in the pocket, had that interception that set up the first score.
And that one rolls through the end zone. And as we just mentioned, Peyton Manning now with 15 straight games with 2 or more touchdown passes in the game. Kind of made that a habit, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, the fact that he's in 2 different uniforms doing it, that's even more impressive.
28 seconds on the clock. Carr. That one's complete to McFadden. McFadden out of bounds. Short of the 25-yard line. Stops the clock with 22 remaining.
4, 2nd and 6.
20 of 32 for 209 for Manning.
And I'm just looking, 32 attempts. The Broncos have 43 snaps of offense in the first half. And that's an incredible amount of offensive snaps. And you mentioned Peyton Manning, 32 pass attempts.
Carr on the move, throws incomplete. Throwing again for McFadden, broken up by Marshall.
Generally in a game, you're trying to get 70 to 75 snaps of offensive play, and here you are at halftime, and you already got 43. So well ahead of what most offenses around the league are targeting 70 plays in an entire game, and Denver on pace, obviously, to be well past that.
Worth saying again, this Denver defense thin in the secondary. Again, being chased and had to throw it away. And Von Miller doing the chasing.
Good pressure once again by the Broncos.
Number 7, Marquette King.
And that is the 5th 3 and out for the Raiders today, and that doesn't do much to accomplish the main objective against the Denver Broncos, and that's to keep Peyton Manning on the sideline as often as possible.
Well, and if you look at the 10 points that the Raiders do have, it's after the interceptions, and so they had a short field to work with, and they were able to convert those into points, and just not having much yardage as a terrible punt here right before the half.
That kick was a pop-up. And meanwhile, the clock runs down. So what a turnaround in the last couple of minutes of this first half. 20 to 10, Denver at halftime. We're back with the Verizon Halftime Report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. In California in the first half, the Raiders got off to a good start thanks to some pressure defense on Peyton Manning. However, number 18 came back strong. A couple of touchdown passes, and it's a 20 to 10 lead for the Denver Broncos over the Raiders. Manning has turned the ball over twice, the Raiders once, but look at the total yard numbers. 283 for Denver to just 82 total yards in the first half for the Raiders. Greg Gumbel along with Trent Green. So the Raiders get the ball first in the second half by virtue of having deferred after winning the toss. What do you expect them to come out with?
Well, first they have to get the ball moving. They had 8 possessions. 5 of those 8 possessions were 3 and outs. They need to get first down, so you have to get the run game going a little bit. That hasn't been their strength this year. Get the play action pass. Get Derek Carr on the move. Get him outside. He's been under pressure these last few series. Get him outside the pocket where he can make some plays with his feet and push the ball up the field.
It would seem that a good start to the second half would be imperative for the Raiders. Let's check in with Evan Washburn downstairs. Evan.
Well, Greg, that was exactly the message from Tony Sperano when I spoke to him. It all starts with the offense. He understands the margin for error is so slim when you're playing Peyton Manning. I also spoke with John Fox. He felt the difference was that they just settled down. They started executing, especially the offensive line, figured out what the Raiders were doing up front, batting out all those passes. Really thought that C.J. Anderson play obviously changed momentum. But for the Raiders, it all starts and ends offensively, according to Sperano.
All right, Evan, thank you. The kick through the end zone, and the Raiders will start. Now here are some penalty markers flying, several of them. That's the guy who caught the
Personal
kickoff.
foul, unnecessary roughness, number 57 of the receiving team, half the distance to the goal, first down.
Well, that's Ray Armstrong, a linebacker, and that is probably what Tony Sperano did not need.
Yeah, when you come out, the ball's out of the end zone, get the ball at the 20, now all of a sudden you're back at the 10, and 57 right here, he's going to get the late hit, and he's coming over, and this is where the hit's going to be on, and no need for it, no return.
So now Carr and the Raiders starting from their own 10, and that's good for a couple of yards straight ahead. Darren McFadden. 8 possessions in the first half for the Raiders and 5 3-and-outs.
And then all of a sudden you're going to get a personal foul to move them back even more. So not doing yourself any favors.
On 2nd and 8, the quick slant, that doesn't work. Pass intended for James Jones, covered by Bradley Roby, and it'll be 3rd and 8.
Well, and Roby is climbing all over Jones's back. You can see why the Raiders sideline was looking for a penalty. No penalties thrown, so good breakup, good defense.
Raiders sideline is sure looking thin in personnel, isn't it?
We talked about coming into this game, they were thin in the secondary, and then they had a couple guys banged up in the first half. They were able to return, but Denver is not the team you want to be banged up in the secondary just because of how many weapons they have.
Carr under pressure, pushes it out to a lineman, Khalif Barnes. The ball is loose and is down at about the 17-yard line, covered by Chris Harris of the Broncos.
So it's going to be an illegal forward pass, but then if you're a lineman, all of a sudden you're running with the ball. Do you see him? He's swinging it with one arm. I mean, it was, just secure it.
Illegal touching, number 69 of the offense. That player subsequently fumbled the ball, and it was recovered by the defense. That penalty is therefore declined. First down, Denver.
That is disaster right off the bat.
So this is where it's going to have happen. It's going to be
Carr.
Well, I guess it was the left guard. It wasn't the right guard. So yeah, it was Barnes that he caught the ball, and he tried, after he's running up the field, he tries making a move with it, which sometimes it's good to know your limitations. Watch this. He swings the ball out to the right and tries making a cut and a stiff arm and everything else.
I'm just going to take a guess and say that didn't come out of the offensive playbook.
Yeah, he had flashbacks maybe to his youth days when he was a running back. Not the type of start to the second half that Raiders were looking for.
So from the 18-yard line, Manning and the Broncos set up. Quick pass to the near side. Emmanuel Sanders to the 13.
Late flag comes in.
Penalty flag of the play.
Carl Jeffers.
Prior to the pass, number 64 offense was illegally downfield. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
That's center Will Montgomery. So Derek Carr, what happened on that is the rookie just appeared to panic and throw the ball to any black jersey that he saw.
Well, and as you're going down and knowing you're inside your own 10-yard line, he's trying to get it out of his hands, just flip and make a play. And as you said, Greg, flipping it to an offensive lineman, best thing for the O-lineman to do is to just take it and bat it down. Becomes an incomplete pass, but that's not something you go over.
Hillman, left side, run out of bounds, shy of the 20-yard line by C.O. Moore. Yeah, you know, it's one thing if a quarterback sees someone out of the corner of his eye. It's quite another when an offensive lineman knows he's not an intended receiver.
Well, he looked at it. You see me caught the ball, and he looked at it like, okay, what do I do? I guess I better take off running. So once he caught it and realized that he shouldn't have the ball in his hands, then he had no choice other than to go down and study at flashbacks to running back.
2nd and 13. Manning throwing far side of the field. Welker banged out of bounds at about the 10-yard line. Miles Burris and Larry Asante converging. That's Asante. Number 42, the third-year defensive back out of Nebraska. 3rd and 2 now.
The Raiders have been good at this part of the field as far as stopping Denver on 3rd downs to force field goal attempts. The 2 scores for Denver have been out towards midfield.
Manning changing things up.
He got one-on-one down here at the bottom of the screen with Julius Thomas.
Looking that way, throwing on the slant. Thomas, touchdown, Denver.
You know, a lot of times when Peyton Manning's doing all that stuff at the line of scrimmage, a lot of it is just for the defense. It's not even doing anything for the offense. All he's trying to do is to get the defense to commit. And here at the bottom of the screen, you see number 80, we pointed it out. He just gets a slant route. There's clear routes on the inside. Defensive players will be yelling for Sanders on a pick route there. But man-to-man coverage, Manning was able to recognize that, knew where the matchup was that he wanted to take advantage of.
When we talked with Julius Thomas last night, he quite possibly was the happiest guy we talked to all weekend long. Wonder if he knew it was coming. Julius Thomas, his 11th touchdown catch of the year. 27-10 Broncos. All of those number 80 Julius Thomas jerseys, that's the Julius Thomas contingent from nearby Stockton, California. Celebrating number 80's touchdown catch. 27-10 Denver. And Latavius Murray will run this one out from 2 yards deep. Across the 20 out to the 25-yard line. Let's go back to the touchdown.
We got Wells Welker who's going to be on the inside. He's just going to run a corner route to get out of the way. Sanders is going to come up here and get in the way so the defender runs into him. And then you got the underneath route by Julius Thomas. You see Sanders, he just gets in the way. He's not going up and blocking him. He's just getting in the way of the defender being able to follow him through. And then
here you go, peeps.
Then a little flip in the, here's the family touchdown ball right there.
A little flip to James Jones, then Jones going nowhere. Chris Harris Jr., the first one to make contact. Here's Julius Thomas. I was saying before we went to commercial, Trent, he was the happiest guy we talked to all weekend. Just a jolly big guy. And hey, I'm all for guys that big being jolly.
Well, and he had talked some of, it wasn't necessarily his frustration, but he talked about the last couple of games, how offensively they hadn't gotten him involved in the game plans early because he is such an X factor from an offensive standpoint. How our defense is going to match up on him, and he said they were utilizing him that way, which ultimately didn't get him involved as well.
That pass is complete out to about the 29-yard line to Marcel Reese. He said, you know, sometimes you're needed to throw a little chip block, and if we need a little extra protection, that's me. And he kind of felt left out on occasion.
And he did. And he said, just like anybody, you want to be involved in the game plan early. You just, you know, he used the word antsy. He said you start going through the game, you don't get the ball initially, you get a little antsy wanting to get the ball. And he felt the last couple of weeks he hadn't been, getting that ball early. And today he's taking full advantage.
Carr throwing down the middle of the field, and that's incomplete, intended for Denarius Moore. And the Raiders will punt it away.
Mark Kingdom 7 in punt formation.
we talked about it the first half, 8 possessions, 5 3 and outs. They come out here, the first possession, they get the turnover. They have the turnover, and the second possession is a 3 and out. So offensively, just having struggled so far today, they haven't even totaled 90 yards of total offense. Their points coming off of Denver's 2 turnovers.
One more thing about Julius Thomas with 11 touchdown catches. He hasn't been ignored too much.
A lot of that came early, though. You're right, and it also, when you have those kind of touchdowns, you're going to draw more attention from the defense as well.
Isaiah bursts. Not going to advance past the 30-yard line. And we have penalty markers down. Back upfield.
During the kick, holding number 52 receiving team. Half the distance to the goal. First down. Timeout.
Nelson is guilty of the hold, so that'll back the Broncos up. Broncos and Raiders, great names, great faces, great numbers, great football during the years.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. And by the all-new 2015 Acura TLX. It's that kind of thrill.
Back in Oakland, Manning and the Broncos from their own 19-yard line. Leading 27-10. Play fake to Hillman. Manning stepping up, sideline pass, complete, and out of bounds, Demaryius Thomas. Hey, tonight, 60 Minutes goes to the Ebola hot zone to see how the Americans fighting the outbreak are doing, plus actor Steve Carell. Tonight, only CBS. In Oakland today, Executive Vice President of Football Operations and General Manager John Elway, a fairly decent quarterback in his day. Ronnie Hillman. And Ronnie Hillman is run over by C.O. Moore. It would seem if these Raiders are going to get a spark, it's going to have to come from the defense.
It is, and the linebackers, we touched on that early in the game. The young linebackers flying around the field. Here's C.O. Moore right here. He's going to come through and make the tackle. Nice job by Tuck at the point of attack, occupying 2 offensive players and giving a lane for C.O. Moore to get in the backfield and come up with a big stop.
They've got to find a way to just stop Peyton Manning early in drives and get the ball back. 2nd and 13. Manning throwing far side of the field. Little screen for Demaryius Thomas, and Thomas across the 40, tripped up by Larry Asante.
Well, let's look a little bit about what Peyton Manning, the first interception of the game, he threw into triple coverage. Here you can get isolated at the top of your screen just on a quick wide receiver screen. But Peyton Manning, after that first interception, trying to push the ball up the field into coverage, he's really settled down. He's had a lot of quick throws, and then when he's had the one-on-ones, the touchdown to Emmanuel Sanders down the sideline, the touchdown to Julius Thomas, he's been able to take advantage of the one-on-ones and really getting the ball out of his hands nicely since the beginning of the game.
This is C.J. Anderson with running room across midfield and close to the 40-yard line. They'll mark him down at the 41. Derek Carr can only look on and wish for the football. C.J. Anderson's had himself a day.
With Monte Ball not playing today, Ronnie Hillman getting dinged up a little bit. C.J. Anderson doing a good job running the football. 6 carries, 68 yards. Giving good balance to that offense.
Play clock now approaching 5 on the snap. The give is to Anderson. And Anderson to about the 37-yard line. And Manning now looking like he can pick and choose because most everything he's doing is working.
Well, and you do. When you have the things going offensively the way they are, you have the lead, the 17-point lead, and you can keep the defense off balance. Plus, the defense has lost a little spark. You start punching them in the mouth a few times, get in the end zone, and things aren't working, especially those missed tackles that happen earlier right before the half. It really does take a punch to the gut to the defense, and Manning is very dialed in on how he wants to attack him now.
Anderson again. Wrestled down at the 35. by Khalil Mack. We have markers down on the field.
Tripping, number 84 offense. 10-yard penalty, repeat second down.
Jacob Tammy, the tight end, guilty of that.
So Khalil Mack was the one able to get in on the play. He gets upfield, but then he's able to come off and make the tackle. He gets good pressure, and he's able to shed the block and come off and do a nice job with that. You can understand why the Raiders are excited about him, the talent that he brings, the speed that he brings. And
you're saying he's probably the best defensive player in the league with no stats.
Well, you know, that's the thing. A lot of people don't recognize the quarterback hurries or the pressures up the field, or you get up the field and you make the running back cut back in where your other guys make the tackle. And really, he's been able to do a lot of those things.
On 2nd and 16, out of the backfield is Hillman. Hillman up the sideline and bounced out of bounds just about the 40-yard line by Terrell Brown.
On 2nd and long, the Raiders drop into coverage and rally and come up and make that tackle. Only rush 4.
On the quick snap, Manning throwing far sideline, and that is complete to Demaryius Thomas. And Thomas looks like about a half yard short of the first down.
Well, and this is that range where you go for it on 4th down.
And they are up to the line in a hurry. Manning on 4th and 1. Quick snap. Going to keep it and throw it and complete it to the 20. Julius Thomas to the end zone for the touchdown.
Number 80, Julius Thomas.
Peyton Manning, his 4th touchdown pass of this game.
Well, this one's going to be on the veteran Charles Woodson. He's lined up over Julius Thomas. He's right here, and Thomas is going to come leaking out into the flat. He bites down just that one step, that one hard step. He's able to jump up and try and get the tip pass, but the height of Julius Thomas and the touch that Peyton Manning puts on the football, there's no chance there. There's nobody left home to make that tackle.
Extra point is good, and with 6:52 to play in the 3rd quarter, the Broncos with a head of steam, 34-10. Of Peyton Manning's last 9 passes, he's completed all 9, 4 of them for touchdowns. 2 of them to number 80, Julius Thomas.
I'd say he settled down after those 2 interceptions. They didn't rattle him too much.
Latavius Murray.
That's not shocking, is it?
Across the 15 to about the 18-yard line. 6:45 to play in the 3rd. A beautiful look at the Bay Bridge. It's about all that's beautiful for the Raiders so far.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by KFC, the world's best chicken. How do you, KFC? And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Welcome back on 1st down from the 18-yard line. Derek Carr and the Oakland offense looking for any kind of a spark. Going to go deep. Throwing into coverage, incomplete. 1 Raider, 4 DBs downfield. Vincent Brown, the intended receiver.
Terrence Knighton is able to get pressure up the middle, and Derek Carr is going to take a shot. You watch Knighton, he's coming right up the middle, and as he steps into the throw, as Derek Carr steps into the throw, he's going to take right in the ribs.
Terrence Knighton, owner of one of the great nicknames in all of sports. This is Marcel Reese. And Reese pushing and being pushed across the 20 to about the 21-yard line.
And as a quarterback, when you take that kind of a shot, it really just takes the wind out of you and causes those ribs to expand a little bit, if not break. So Tough guy, Derek Carr, being able to deal with that, jump right back up and get after it.
Latavius Murray in the backfield now on 3rd and 7. And here come the Broncos, and down he goes, and that's Von Miller. And we have a flag.
So they go use of hands to the face. Number 29 defense, 5-yard penalty, automatic. First down.
So Bradley Roby's penalty just negates what Von Miller accomplished, and it's a first down for the Raiders.
Von Miller right in the middle of your screen, 58, comes on the spin move. You're going to see him now. This is after the spin move, but he's able to, he's able to get right across Barnes' face. We showed it earlier in the game. That spin move has been so effective for him. Negated because of the penalty.
Carr, throw, complete. Murray across the 30 to about the 32-33 yard line. Brandon Marshall with the tackle. Only 5 first downs all day for the Oakland Raiders.
And really right now, that's what you have to try. You just need to try and get some first downs. Get something positive. Get it going for next week. First downs, get in scoring position, just do some positive things from an offense. As you know, they're sitting here at 100 yards halfway through the 3rd quarter.
Carr to a wide open on the near sideline, James Jones. And that looks like that'll be enough for a first down. And a reminder for you, Week 10 continues with the Bears and the Packers on Sunday Night Football on NBC, and tune in tomorrow for the Panthers and Eagles on Monday Night Football on ESPN. So Carr pretty much staying exclusively in the air now. Sideline pass, a little bit too far for Jones to reach.
Number 89, James Jones, intended receiver.
It's kind of been that type of day for the Raiders so far offensively. That time having a shot up the field, and just off his fingertips, there have been a few plays where they've just a few inches away. See the safety coming over to the top. You got to try and hit that. There's a void along the sideline when you've got to cover 2 looks where you can get that ball in there. And Quentin Carter coming over the top for the Broncos.
So 2nd and 10. Carr under pressure, throwing, complete to the tight end, Michael Rivera. You're talking about trying to get some momentum going, if not for the rest of today, but certainly for the coming weeks. In the next 2 weeks, Oakland plays the other 2 divisional rivals. They travel to San Diego next week, then they host the Kansas City Chiefs the week after.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier for them. They have one of the toughest, if not the toughest schedule remaining on their who they have coming up. So it doesn't get any easier. And as you say, Greg, Raiders just need to get something going to try and do a positive going into next week.
3rd and 5, he's intercepted by T.J. Ward. T.J. Ward. Let's see if they mark him out of bounds back upfield. Right now, he's being marked out inside the 15-yard line. The Raiders say it was a lot sooner than that. But T.J. Ward with his first interception of the season.
You'll see T.J. Ward, number 43 on the right side of your screen. That ball just comes out too low from Derek Carr.
He was out of bounds, yep.
Derek Carr throws that ball too low. You got to place it up higher.
And the penalty, the challenge flag has been thrown by Tony Sperano.
There's the foot out of bounds.
On Oakland for throwing a flag, challenge flag, when they are not able to do so. That will cost them their first charge timeout.
So the automatic review superseded by Tony Sperano's flag, and he got called for it. Carl Cheffers with the decision.
After review, the defender did intercept, but stepped out of bounds at the 34-yard line. It will be Denver's ball, 1st and 10 at that spot. The Raiders are charged with their first timeout for throwing the challenge flag when they're not able to do so.
That's a coach just forgetting that the play is going to automatically be reviewed.
Yeah, really what you need to do if you want to challenge it is just call the timeout, which they're going to give you the timeout back when they go to review it. Other than the review in the booth, when they go to review it on the sideline, they'll give it back.
The game clock to 3:50, 3:50, please.
So we're going to adjust the game clock, which I have a funny feeling can't move fast enough for the Oakland Raiders. Go for it all. Down the near sideline, it is incomplete. DJ Hayden covering Demaryius Thomas.
Demaryius Thomas, the intended receiver, broken up by number 25, DJ Hayden.
This is a similar play that they got the touchdown earlier to Emmanuel Sanders. DJ Hayden getting beat down the right sideline. This time Demaryius Thomas is matched up, and Hayden is able to stay with him and get his head turned around and nearly comes up with the interception.
DJ Hayden has played very well today. 2nd and 10. Manning throwing. That's complete to Thomas. And Thomas inside the 25 to about the 22. Incidentally, we are told that Menelik Watson, offensive lineman for the Raiders, has gone to the locker room with an injury.
To the 23, 1st and 10.
So a new set of downs at the 23-yard line for Manning and the Broncos. Anderson takes the hit inside the 20 to the 18-yard line. Demaryius Thomas. Not a bad day. For the 6th straight game, 100 receiving yards. And the 8th player in NFL history with 6 straight such games in a single season.
You can see him closing in. Calvin Johnson has the NFL record with 8 straight games, so only a couple games away for him. And just look at the weapons that Peyton Manning has at his disposal. All of them getting involved today.
That quick pass to Emmanuel Sanders. And that will be enough for a first down. DJ Hayden came off the field a short while ago. And has not returned. First down at the 12. And whistles and movement on the offensive line.
False start, number 74 offense, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Second call today on Orlando Franklin.
And Greg, that's the 3rd offensive procedure call that they've had, and it's very uncharacteristic for this offense to have procedural issues. I know there's been a reshuffling on the offensive line, but it's a group of veteran guys that generally that doesn't happen with.
You saw Hayden being looked at on the sideline. Nico Thorpe was in for him. 1st and 15. Flipping it to Anderson, and Anderson bumped out of bounds short of the 15-yard line by Larry Asante. And C.J. Anderson limping on the sideline. And Juwan Thompson replaces him. 2nd and 13. 43 passing attempts for Manning today. Here's number 44. Over the middle, end zone, touchdown, Sanders.
Sanders.
5 touchdown passes on the day for Peyton Manning.
I just got through talking about the weapons that Peyton Manning has at his disposal, and the way as a defense, which one are you going to cover, which one are you going to double team, and it makes it real tough for a defense to determine that.
1:01 to play in the third quarter.
Sanders going down the middle, but you got 2 defenders over here because you got Julius Thomas up top. You got Demaryius Thomas going out wide here. So who are you going to cover? And right here, Charles Woodson gets a little wide and allows the middle of the field to get open, and Peyton Manning recognizes it. And when you have that many weapons at the disposal like Peyton Manning does, how are you going to defend that? Who are you going to run with? And that's why they've been effective with the running game. So far today, Denver has been running the ball very effectively with C.J. Anderson, 8 carries for 77 yards. And when you're able to balance it with the run and the pass, and then you're able to get those guys up the field, it really puts the defense in a tough spot.
I thought it was really interesting, and again, we've referenced it earlier. The attitude that Peyton had when he came into our meeting. He spent his week refocusing himself and his offense because he didn't at all like what happened at New England last week.
And he gave a lot of credit to New England, and he gave a lot of credit to them defensively. And we said, what would you going back and looking at it, were you brought this up to him. You said, were you a little hard on yourself in your post-game comments? He said, not at all. I didn't play well enough. I was disappointed with how I handled it, and give New England credit for the game plan they had. It just, like we touched on earlier in the game, he was very focused about what went on last week and how he wanted to play today. And he came out pressing a little bit, at least I thought he did, especially with that first interception, throwing it into triple coverage. But he's since calmed down, obviously, and with 44 pass attempts and 31 completions, he's Peyton Manning what we expected.
Hey, next Sunday, the NFL on CBS features regional games, including these Broncos traveling to St. Louis to meet the Rams. Also, the Bengals visit the Saints. Trent and I will be down in New Orleans for that one. Or the Raiders face the Chargers. All begins at noon Eastern time. JB and company on the NFL Today. That's all next Sunday here on CBS. These guys in the studio are having way too much fun. Way too much fun. 1 minute 1 second remaining. Carr throws over the middle, hit as he was throwing. Incomplete. Let's check in with Evan downstairs.
Well, guys, 2 injury updates to fill you in on. Melnick Watson, you saw him head to the locker room. The right tackle is being evaluated for a concussion. And then DJ Hayden came to the sideline, slammed his helmet down, is in a ton of discomfort. It's his left groin. They're listing him as a questionable return. This is a player who's dealt with a ton of injuries over the course of his career.
Thanks, Evan. And as we said, has played very well today. 2nd and 10. On the quick slant, popped up in the air and almost intercepted. Brandon Marshall almost got his hands on it, couldn't quite reach it. It'll be 3rd and 10.
The slant on the outside, and Aqib Talib with the collision. We haven't brought up Aqib Talib's name very often today. That may be the first time I've talked about him all day. Just they haven't been able to get the ball to that side of the field, and defensively, the pressure that they've been applying to Derek Carr and causing him to throw a lot of crossing routes underneath.
3rd and 10. Derek Carr now just flinging it on every down, throwing far side of the field. Dive incomplete. Bryce Butler couldn't come up with it. And it'll be another punt for the Raiders.
Now you start wondering if you're Denver, at what point in time do you put Brock Osweiler in the game and start getting him some work? Peyton Manning already 5 touchdown passes on the day. You saw that last series where Peyton took a pretty big shot.
You put Brock Osweiler in the game and immediately improves your rebounding. Nice kick by King. Isaiah Burst, fair catch called for and made at about the 26-yard line. And from on high, once again, our aerial coverage today being provided by MetLife. A beautiful scene, just not a great outcome for the Oakland Raiders and their fans.
Yeah, we came rolling in this morning. There was quite a few people out there tailgating, getting ready to go. The smoke was lifting up through the parking lot. There was some excitement. This rivalry is a storied traditional rivalry, and with the way this game started, getting a couple of quick turnovers, getting the 10 points there in the first part of the game to, we thought we had ourselves a really good game there at the beginning.
Well, a good tailgate doesn't know the meaning of a losing streak, does it? So from their own 26-yard line, Manning still at quarterback. And the give is to C.J. Anderson. Just a little while ago, Brock Osweiler, the third-year quarterback, kind of had a hunch he was going to get into the game, and he's kind of wrong.
Oh, he had the smile on his face. You see him, he took the hat off. He was excited. Here I get to go.
Brock Osweiler is 0 for 1 throwing the football this season. I got a feeling when he gets in there, he's really not going to throw it anyway, so maybe he'll see action here in the fourth quarter as time winds down in the third. 41-10 Broncos. Back after this message and a word from your local station. Along with our producer, Bob Monsbach, our director, Suzanne Smith, Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, Evan Washburn, and the rest of our CBS Sports crew here in Oakland as we start the fourth quarter. Denver with a 41-10 lead, and Peyton Manning's work for the day is done. His 9th career game with 5 touchdown passes. That is an NFL record. He breaks the tie with Drew Brees. And Brock Osweiler, the third-year quarterback out of Arizona State, throwing the slant. Incomplete, intended for Thomas, Demarius Thomas.
Good coverage by McGill there, undercutting the slant route. Were you surprised a little bit that Osweiler throwing the ball? I thought they'd come in and hand it off that first snap, so they're not changing their philosophy.
Would it be great if it was a run that was called and he just audible to the pass? 3rd and 9. Osweiler standing 6'8", 240 pounds.
False start, number 65 offense. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Louis Vasquez guilty of the early move. How about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 TD passes?
Well, this first one, Anderson gets a little one-handed back shoulder catch and is able to convert it, breaking 4 tackles to get it in. Then Sanders, then Thomas, and Thomas will get another one, flipping the football up to his family up in the stands, and then one more time to Sanders in the middle of the field. Start off shaky with those 2 interceptions, but definitely finish strong.
Pass underneath, that is complete to Demarius Thomas. And that'll be short of a 1st down, and the punting unit will come on.
And really, if you think of those 2 interceptions, the only one that stands out to me is the one he threw into triple cover. That first interception, he tried squeezing into coverage, and the second one, Tuck just made an incredible play, jumping up on tipping it at the line of scrimmage, then diving and making the interception.
4th and 9, Britton Colquitt kicking to Denarius Moore. Fair catch called for and made at the 36-yard line. 14:07 to play in the 4th. 41-10.
You are watching the NFL on CBS.
We remind you, coming up after the game, time permitting, the Subway postgame show. JB and company with all the latest scores and highlights, all coming up on the Subway postgame show. Derek Carr going to hand this one to Latavius Murray for not very much before Von Miller makes the hit. It has been a dismal day for the Raiders. 12 offensive possessions, 7 3-and-outs, 3 turnovers, a touchdown and a field goal. And staring 0-9 right in the face. Murray going the other way. Spinning across the 40 to the 41-yard line. Some numbers from around the league. Ben Roethlisberger held to a single touchdown and 2 interceptions in the loss to the New York Jets. Mark Ingram, 120 yards in a losing effort against San Francisco. And Des Bryant finding London very much to his liking. 3rd and 6. Carr trying to step out of the way. On the move, looking, throwing it away.
Well, Greg, 3rd and 6. That's been a recurring theme most of the day. You mentioned how many times they've had 3 and outs, and with 3rd down, not having any effectiveness running the football, only 20 yards of rushing. You end up in 3rd and long quite a bit.
When we talked with Tony Sperano, he had lots and lots of numbers to support his contention that this team was about to turn it around, but none of those numbers have come bubbling to the top today.
Well, and I got that from the players we talked to as well. They were all very positive about this team getting better. They were making progress on both sides of the ball. Early on, they were definitely in the game. It just they weren't able to hold it together once they started having turnovers, and defensively, Peyton Manning attacked them.
Yeah, a little early prosperity didn't help them much. 12:43 to play.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by FedEx One Rate. Simple flat rate shipping with the reliability of FedEx. Best Buy. And by Lexus and their pursuit of perfection.
Yet another example of a child doing something I can't possibly dream of doing. Out by Lake Merritt here in Oakland. 1st down. Osweiler giving to Anderson, and Anderson bursting through the right side to about the 25-yard line. A reminder coming up after the game. Time permitting, the Subway postgame show. JB and the guys in New York with all the latest NFL scores and highlights, all coming up on the Subway postgame show. C.J. Anderson, 155 total yards. The 2nd year back for Cal. Going to add to it here. Out to about the 30. That'll be about a yard short of a 1st down.
This is more of what I expected the last time Osweiler came in the game, is some handoffs and try and keep this clock running. And
yeah, he came out throwing.
He did. He came out firing. He's like, hey, listen, I've had 1 attempt on the season. I'm gonna fire this thing. So.
3rd and 1. See if Anderson gets the call again here. And he does. And reaching for the 1st down, and looks like he might have it.
C.J. Anderson.
And it is 1st down as we come up on 11 minutes to play here in the 4th quarter.
And if you think how this game started off with the 2 turnovers, and with Oakland there was bounce in their step, and now all of a sudden you just see their body language, and they're thinking, okay, when is this streak going to end? When are we going to win a football game with positive things happening at the beginning of this one? Then all of a sudden everything started rolling against them.
Cody Latimer with the catch on the near sideline and bounced out of bounds right around the 40-yard line and just shy of another 1st down.
Greg, you're familiar with where Cody Latimer went to school, aren't you? It's a football powerhouse that I went to, Indiana.
Well, not if you ask Rex Ryan.
That's right.
Rex Ryan says you went to West Virginia.
That's right. But Cody Latimer did a nice job there, getting the ball, getting up the field. And
2nd and 1, and Juwan Thompson with a 1st down, and the ball came out, but it's covered by Denver. That Rex Ryan reference, he for some reason or other, he had it in his head that you went to West Virginia, and felt very badly about it when it hit him about halfway back down the hall in the hotel.
Yeah, I just kind of rolled with it when, and this was way back towards the beginning of the season. So we've since had the Jets a couple times, and now it's a big joke. But
you do register as Mark Bolger on occasion in the hotel.
Yeah. So that's my alias, right?
First down for Osweiler and the Broncos. They go deep down this sideline, incomplete. Overthrows Andre Caldwell, and we have a penalty marker down.
Number 12, Andre Caldwell is the intended receiver. It's penalty flag on.
Holding. Number 75 offense. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Chris Clark guilty of the hold. I remind you, this week, Thursday Night Football brings you a key AFC East showdown between the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. It's Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, live on NFL Network.
Both those teams had tough losses today, but Ryan Tannehill and that Miami offense is playing much better. And Kyle Orton, since he's taken over for the Bills, is doing some positive things for them as well.
This is Thompson once again at the carry, and with 9:20 to play in the fourth, let's check into New York. JB.
Hey, Greg, Arizona with the best record doesn't have good news here.
Yeah, watch right here as Carson Palmer goes to step up. Watch his left knee. It buckles right there. He goes down, was down for a period of time, was carted off the field. We haven't heard the extent of the injury, but it does not look good for Arizona. St. Louis leads 14-10.
If we get any more information, we'll pass it along, Greg.
All right, JB, thank you. Carson Palmer, the recipient of a brand new deal out in Arizona.
Number 29, Brandon Moss with the hit on
And the Arizona Cardinals are sailing right along in the NFC.
Well, and Carson's a difference maker. I know that Arizona's been through 3 different quarterbacks at point in time because of different injuries that have gone through. Carson Palmer coming back a couple weeks ago and playing very effectively. You mentioned getting that new contract this week, extension for 3 more years, and very unfortunate if this ends up being a long-term injury. Hopefully it's not.
3rd and 17 for Osweiler. On the move. And going to run out of bounds just across the 40-yard line. Evan, to you.
Hey guys, just a couple injury updates. We saw DJ Hayden leave the game with that left groin injury. He's still questionable. He's trying to loosen up on the bike. He's still in a lot of discomfort, but again, he just hasn't played a lot of football, so any snaps he can get are important. And then in the Broncos sideline, Ronnie Hillman is done for today. Just precautionary, had that left foot that he was dealing with in the first half into the third quarter. His left shoe is untied. He's got a hat, no helmet, so he appears to be done.
All right, Evan, thank you. Colquitt's kick. Denarius Moore back inside his 10-yard line. Trying to turn the corner. Penalty marker flies as he makes his way up the sideline.
Number 17, Denarius Moore on the punt return. There's a penalty.
Let's see if this comes back. And it will.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Number 57 of the return team. Half the distance to the goal. First down. Timeout.
I believe that's the second one today on Ray Armstrong. Bobby April, not a happy camper. He's the special teams coach. Maurice Jones-Drew watching from the sideline as the penalty sets the Raiders back to their own 6-yard line, and the quick pass outside is going to go nowhere. Let's go down to Evan Washburn. Evan.
Well, guys, there's a lot of De La Salle alums on the field today. You're looking at T.J. Ward, his cousin Maurice Jones-Drew, and they've come into sort of, if there's any more celebrity, with the new movie that was released recently, When the Game Stands Tall, and it tells the story of that historic program in their winning streak. And after this play, I'll sort of update another aspect of that story that has affected T.J. Ward and continues to.
Meanwhile, this is McFadden, and McFadden out to about the 10. Before we do that, Evan, let's get another NFL Today update from New York, guys.
A bit of good news involving the Cardinals.
Yeah, Drew Stanley just came in for Carson Palmer, finds John Brown 48 yards out And right now, Arizona takes the lead 17-14 over St. Louis.
Back to Greg and Trent.
All right, guys, 3rd and 6. And Carr going to throw it out to McFadden. McFadden looking for a first down and see where they mark him. Looks like maybe about a yard short. Evan.
Well, guys, in 2004, T.J. Ward lost his best friend, Terrence Kelly, who was a member of that De La Salle team, and he continues to honor Terrence Kelly. He's got a tattoo of him on his shoulder, TK, and he's involved in the Terrence Kelly Foundation that's run by his father, Landron, and they're in attendance today, and he was telling us last night that some of the kids from that foundation have made their way to De La Salle playing football, so he continues to honor his friend Terrence and what he meant to him back in 2004 when they started here in De La Salle.
It's pretty interesting, Evan, talking to T.J. Ward. I went to De La Salle High School in Chicago. Apparently, I got whacked around a little more than T.J. Ward did. This is Isaiah Burse. And Isaiah Burse across midfield and into Oakland territory. 5:25 to play in the 4th. De La Salle High School, West Coast version.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by M&M's. Chocolate's better with M. And by TD Ameritrade.
Always a sightseeing adventure when you come to Oakland. The bad news is the Raiders are looking at 0-9. There's C.J. Anderson. And it has been a while since they last won. November 17 of last season. How things have changed since then, except the winning ways of the Oakland Raiders.
Well, you can say what you want about the black hole and the fan base and whatever. I always enjoyed coming here and playing in Oakland, and that was because you want to play places where fans are passionate about their football, or at least I did. I enjoyed coming to places that were loud. I enjoyed where the fans really got into it, and of course Oakland fans are very passionate about their football.
Osweiler hit as he released, incomplete. Danico Autry, the rookie free agent out of Mississippi State, with the hit. But yeah, I can understand that, Trent. It's fun to play in front of fans like that.
You do. You just when you come out of the locker room for warm-ups and you people are already there. When you come into the parking lot and people are already there, and just throughout the course of the game, yeah, there may be some colorful language you hear on the sidelines, but that's all part of it. That just means that people have a passion for what they're trying to support,
and good for them. 3rd and 8. That's incomplete, in and out of the hands of C.J. Anderson. Once again to New York for an update. JB.
Marshawn Lynch is truly in beast mode.
Yeah, I'd say so. His 4th touchdown of the day. This 16-yard run puts now Seattle up 31-17. That is beast mode, JB.
Greg, it was nip and tuck. Back to Greg Gumbel.
Looks like it's more tuck now, JP. We could say the same thing about this one. Nip and tuck in the first half until things got out of hand, courtesy of Peyton Manning. Denarius Moore back at his own 10-yard line for the kick. And he will let this one go. Oh, how's that for downing a football?
That's when it's bouncing your way right there.
Omar Bolden short hops it at the 3-yard line. That's unbelievable. Gets blocked, and that's how you do it. Those of you expecting to see 60 minutes, you're watching the NFL on CBS, our game between the Denver Broncos and Oakland Raiders, along with Trent Green and Evan Washburn. I'm Greg Gumbel. 41-10, Broncos in the lead. 60 minutes will be seen in its entirety immediately after this game, except on the West Coast, where it will be seen at its regularly scheduled time. I'm serious. You could break a finger short hopping a football like that.
You could. That was very similar to a third baseman sometimes waving their glove at a ball, not seeing it in.
No, third basemen have a glove. That's the difference. Take a peek ahead for the Denver Broncos. Not exactly a chip shot from now until the end of the season. They've got Oakland again. Cincinnati, you don't know how they're going to show up. They have been so up and down.
Kansas City played them well in Denver earlier this year.
On 2nd and 9, Carr pulls it down several times and then hits Jones-Drew over the middle. And he'll have about another 3 yards for a first down. Let's see where they spot it. No. 3rd and 2. We are under 3.5 minutes to play. Big day for Julius Thomas, the fine tight end of the Broncos. Carr going to loft it down the far sideline, leaping and making the catch is Denarius Moore, and now taken away. Let's see. The officials confer on the far side of the field. Where are they going to rule?
They're going to say dual possession. Raiders ball is going to be my call.
You got it.
Number 17, Denarius Moore on the reception.
They go up for it. Denarius is able to come down with it, and as it's secured, they both have it. Now, once he's already down,
28 yards on that.
then they wrestle the ball away from him. Roby wrestles the ball away from him, but when contact was made with the ground, that's dual possession. It's got to go to the offensive player.
So John Fox will challenge, and standing by in New York, gosh, we haven't seen him all day, but because there hasn't been much controversy here, our officiating expert, Mike Carey. Mike, you saw the play. What'd you think?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. It's not a simultaneous catch because the offense has clear control in the air, but in the process of going to the ground, it gets wrestled away by the defense. So the question is, did he have control while he was upright long enough to maintain a catch, or is he going to the ground in the process? And that'll be really interesting to see what they come up with.
Yeah, you don't see this very often, do you?
No, not very much at all. And my opinion is that their ruling on the field is going to stand because there's not enough evidence to decide which way or the other this happened.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. Gosh, that would put Trent Green and Mike Carey on the same side of the fence on this one.
He used different terminology. It wasn't dual possession at the beginning.
The ruling on the field stands. First down, Oakland.
And they're both
Denver
right.
will be charged with their first timeout.
Our guys are always right, except when they're not. So there's Denarius Moore with the grab.
At least that's all we want to talk about is the time. Sure. Right.
Nice play by Bradley Roby. It's just that he didn't wrest the ball away in time. Carr over the middle. That's complete. Michael Rivera, and Rivera to about the 35 for another first down as we come up on 2.5 to play. So now the best records in the AFC, New England and Denver will share that 7-2 mark. Cleveland, Kansas City, Indianapolis right behind them at 6-3.
When we saw that New England and Denver are tied, clearly New England has the advantage because of the tiebreaker than playing last week head-to-head, New England with the win.
That pass to the near side, and again, that's Rivera, and Rivera brought to a full stop at the 30-yard line, and we'll take our break with 2 minutes to play here in Oakland. Long day for number 4. A reminder, tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes and a reporting trip to the Ebola hot zone. That's followed by new episodes of Madam Secretary, The Good Wife, and CSI, only CBS. 2 minutes to play here in Oakland. And a much happier Peyton Manning on the sideline. Good pass, far side of the field, Vincent Brown.
Vincent Brown from Derek Carr.
And the clock continues to move.
You can see there the aggressiveness of Denver's defense. They still have a number of their players at the line, at or near the line of scrimmage, not looking to give up any more points to the Raiders. The only points they've gotten are off those turnovers in the first half. And 9 defenders all within the line of scrimmage box there.
3rd and 1. Carr avoids the rush, completes the pass, and inside the 20 to about the 17 or 18-yard line is Vincent Brown. John Elway. Ready to be a part of the happy Broncos who are pleased to be back in the win column. They took that loss at New England hard.
They did. The whole organization did, really. And you know, John Fox was talking to us about that last night, just the approach they had during the week.
There's a touchdown pass over the middle of Michael Rivera.
Well, there's something positive for Oakland to take with them into next week. Derek Carr standing in there, leading up a nice drive down the field, and he's getting Rivera down the middle of the field. Safeties roll into a cover 2, so it's one-on-one down the middle with TJ Ward. Puts that high and on the back shoulder to where only Rivera can make that catch.
Second touchdown pass of the day for Derek Carr. And looks like that might have been a quick snap.
The ball was not marked ready for play. The try will be attempted again.
So Janikowski will do that all over. Meanwhile, Derek Carr now up to 13 touchdown passes in his rookie season. So 48 seconds on the clock. And Denver's lead now 41-17. Derek Carr on the money to Michael Rivera. You know, there's some people who might think that that's pretty meaningless, but you said just a moment ago that's something for them to take with them, and I wonder how seriously do players consider that?
Well, I think you have to, and this is such a young team, and they're growing and progressing every week. We talk to the players, we talk to the coaches about the respect that Derek Carr has in the locker room, the respect that he carries in the meeting room, on the practice field, and on game day. Just how much everybody values him and understands that he's the quarterback here, that he's the future of this organization.
Just a reminder, 60 Minutes coming up next, except for those of you on the West Coast who will be seeing it at its regularly scheduled time. So 2 touchdown passes today for Derek Carr, 5 for his opposite number on the Denver sideline, Peyton Manning. Janikowski, a little onside kick attempt, recovered by the Broncos. Andre Caldwell with the recovery. How was Peyton's day, Trent?
Well, it started off here. Anderson does a nice one-handed grab. He's able to break through 4 different tackles, and that kind of got his day going. He had a couple interceptions early, did Peyton Manning, but then pouring it on, and with 5 touchdown passes, 2 to Emmanuel Sanders, 2 to Julius Thomas, and just overall got dialed in. 31 of 44, 340 yards, 5 touchdowns. I'd say after those 2 picks, he definitely got things going the way he's used to.
But you know he will gripe about those 2 picks.
He will. That'll lead him up, and that's why he's so great.
One more snap. The Broncos will move to 7-2 and the Oakland Raiders will fall to 0-9.
Well, and I think if you talk to Peyton Manning, he's going to be focused in on getting ready for the St. Louis Rams at St. Louis. They played very well at home. They have a good defense. They can pressure the quarterback.
And it will be a road game, and they have said they haven't played particularly well on the road. They're only 2-2 now.
And that was one of the things he talked about coming into this game. They were 1-2 on the road. They wanted to learn. They said we need to get road wins. We need to get better at that. And John Fox is like, well, I tend to think it's about who you play on the road. Having lost at Seattle and at New England had more to do with it than what Peyton was talking about.
There's your final score. The Denver Broncos 41, the Oakland Raiders 17. A reminder once again tonight on CBS. It's 60 Minutes, followed by Madam Secretary, The Good Wife, and CSI. Raiders 7-2. They wish they're 0-9 on the year. Denver, the winner. For Trent and Evan and all of us, Greg Gumbel. So long from Oakland. You've been watching the NFL on CBS.